Is the metric system actually better than the imperial system? We're going to be finding that out today in this video titled, Is the metric system actually better? Subscribe and let me know what you guys think. I know most of you guys, if not all of you guys, are going to say absolutely the metric system is better. And I don't necessarily think you guys are wrong. However, I can't help but appreciate the imperial system, but I have grown to appreciate the metric system more as I have traveled. Let's see what this video has to bring, and we will break this down and I'll give you my opinion.
A problem-solving website that teaches you to think like an engineer. The time has finally arrived. The comment section demanding imperial and metric units has gone on too long. There can only be one measurement system. The British imperial system, like everything British, is based on antiquated units of measurement. Like measuring your country's importance by counting the number of countries you have invaded and pillaged. A measurement that made sense 100 years ago, but it's time to move on. Weirdly, the British have mostly moved on from this method of measurement, and it is instead Americans who insist on holding on to it. Well, America, Liberia, and Myanmar.
We all still use the imperial system.
A prestigious trio. Now, I can already hear the people who refuse to wear masks in the comments. There are two kinds of countries, those that use the metric system and those that landed on the moon. You know who led the design team for the Saturn V? This guy. Listen to that deep Alabama accent.
This weight dictates the amount of fuel and the numbers of motors.
An American through and through. Ignore this photo of him. Those are just some German friends he made while on gap year in Europe.
Oh, wow.
Look at all his friends. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I knew it. I knew it was coming.
9 friends. A popular man. This Alabama native used metric. In fact, he despised British units. So much so that he designed a rocket during his gap year to fly to England to show them how great the metric system was.
Oh, dang.
The Saturn V was designed, like nearly everything in NASA at the time, with a mixture of both metric and imperial units. Just read the mission reports for Apollo 11 for proof of this. It switches between inches and centimeters constantly.
Oh, freak. I guess that makes sense. That does make sense.
It's a mess.
It's very confusing. And the conversion between inches and centimeters it's cancer, bro. It's cancer. It's the worst thing. I guess that didn't take much to convince me. The metric system is clearly... It's on to something, man. It's on to something. I mean, literally the entire world minus 3 countries or one whole continent damn near, or half of a continent, I should say, uses the metric system.
Anyone working with this report would have had to be hyper aware of what unit of measurement they were using. Most of the design and science work was done in metric, before being converted to imperial for the manufacturing and operational staff. One of the most mind-boggling examples of this is the guidance computer. It was coded in metric. Meters and kilograms are the language of science. But to ensure the astronauts could intuitively understand what those calculations meant, the displays inside the lunar module had to be displayed in British imperial units. So, even back then, when computer power was extremely limited, the engineers had to waste precious computational time and power to conversion. This isn't just a waste of computation power. Errors in conversion have led to an insane number of accidents through the years, some of the most notable being in NASA. In December 1998, the Mars Climate Orbiter took off from Cape Canaveral aboard its Delta II rocket. Over the course of its 9.5-month journey, the orbiter needed to complete trajectory correction maneuvers to bring it into an optimal orbit insertion altitude of 226 kilometers. However, as the time grew closer, calculations showed that the orbiter was entering Mars orbit in a far lower altitude. So low that it was likely going to strike the atmosphere and violently tear itself apart.
Oh my goodness.
This is exactly what happened. So, what went wrong? The orbiter was coded with metric units, So, the thruster control unit was working with the metric unit for impulse,
Okay.
Newton seconds, but the controller was being supplied with pound force seconds.
Bro, basically let me say something real quick, cuz this right here shows a very practical and sinister way that metric units and imperial units intermingling with each other, and how they could be fatal in a lot of situations. I think at this point, since most of the planet has agreed to use the metric system, even though I have grown accustomed to the imperial system, maybe it is time to just have the rest of the world, the 3 remaining countries, just submit, because safety over everything, right? And as you see here, had there been people, in a situation where they were on a ship and something like this happened, a lot of lives could have been lost, So it's making a lot more sense. Dang, I did not stand firm on my belief at all, man. Very easily swayed.
Which differs by a conversion factor of 4.45, a massive discrepancy. A discrepancy that destroyed a $328 million project.
Wow.
In 1983, an Air Canada flight departing from Montreal ran out of fuel halfway to its destination in Edmonton. Why? The ground crew knew 22,500 kilograms of fuel was needed for the flight.
Yeah.
They, however, needed to calculate how many liters were needed to be pumped. So, they used the density ratio to convert the weight measurement to a volume measurement.
Oh, shiznit. Math fail. That once again can cost millions of lives. Oof, man, this is a bigger issue than I thought. I never actually considered this perspective before. So this is actually making me a little nervous, man. But it is opening up a very good argument as to why the entire world should use one measuring system, so we could avoid very preventable accidents like this.
But they used the 1.77 density ratio, which was pounds per liter, instead of the correct ratio of 0.8 kilograms per liter, resulting in less than half the required fuel load being pumped aboard.
Wow, bro.
Luckily, the pilot managed to glide the plane down to an abandoned airfield. But that little boo-boo of a conversion error could have resulted in a catastrophic loss of life.
Bro, do you see how wild that plane landed, though? People had to have been injured on that plane. At least a little bit, like a neck crack or something. That's crazy.
These are 2 cautionary tales with disastrous consequences. But it tells you nothing of the silent screams into the void every engineer in the world lets out when they are forced to work with both units. It's just an unnecessary pain in the ass we could all do without.
And it saves more time, so it allows for faster, innovative solutions and stuff like that, instead of jumping through all these hoops to try to convert inches to centimeters, millimeters, all that other craziness, bro. Like just pounds to like these different foot or feet, pounds, fluid ounces and all that stuff. I mean, to metric units, man. Like,
this is the reason we need to choose one measurement system.
Yes,
mixing units not only is tempting fate with conversion errors, but it costs an untold number of hours for scientists and engineers around the world.
It slows down the
banging their head
innovation
against
process.
tables, when they could be using that time for something more productive.
Jeez.
I could end the video there, but we need to really hammer home why metric units are the superior units. So why is it better? Well, let's start with the fundamental unit of measurement. There are 7 base units of measurement, and with these 7, we can measure everything in the universe. Think of them like the 3 primary colors of light. With these 3 colors, we can create any color in the universe by mixing them in just the correct proportions.
Wow.
We can do the same with these fundamental units of measurement. They are time, length, mass, temperature, electric current, chemical amount, and luminous intensity.
Oh my gosh.
With these measures, we can describe our universe. Velocity is a combination of length and time, volume is length cubed, density is volume combined with mass. These measurements are the language of the universe.
It's like I'm back in school again, bro.
So, let's see how the imperial system handles a very simple one: length. An inch is a standard unit of measurement for length in the imperial system. Let's imagine a scenario. You are designing a railing for a 1 mile long bridge. You, as a skilled and knowledgeable engineer, know that 2 half-inch bolts are more than enough to secure the railing down. The posts of the railing are 6 feet apart. Alright, how many inches are there in a foot? 12? So that's 72 inches. Every 72 inches we need 2 bolts. Our bridge is 1 mile long. How many feet is that? I don't know off the top of my head, and a quick Google search tells me it's 5,280 feet. What's 12 inches by 5,080? That's 63,360 inches. Divide that by 72, that's 880. So we need to order 1,760 half-inch bolts. That felt cumbersome. Why do I need to remember all these numbers? Because Imperial is a convoluted mess of measurement units invented by people who married their cousins. That's why. Now, let's see how much easier that is in metric. How many millimeters are there in a meter? It's in the name. Milli, 1,000. Now, how many meters are there in a kilometer? Once again, it's in the damn name, kilo, 1,000. Given a measurement in kilometers but want meters, just shift the decimal place over 3 places.
It's very self-explanatory, very easy to work with. No deciphering or trying to figure out what is what. But when you hear the word feet as a measurement, it sounds ridiculous. It does sound pounds. That also sounds ridiculous.
No calculation needed. There is no room for error. It's a simply better system. Even within Imperial, you have to constantly convert your units. Ounces to pounds, pounds to imperial tons, which for some reason differs from a metric ton by 1.6%. Again, in metric, there are 1,000 grams in a kilogram and 1,000 kilograms in a ton. In Imperial, there are 16 ounces in a pound and 2,240 pounds in an imperial ton. Why? You aren't even following the same conversion conventions as your other units. This is insanely cumbersome. The chances of conversion errors even within your own damn system is high, never mind having to convert to metric. You know what's even more insane? The word for mass and weight in the imperial system is the same. Why? Because the pound was invented before we knew what gravity was. That's why. We just assumed mass and weight were the same thing, when they aren't. So, we have to specify in Imperial whether we mean pound mass or pound force. I haven't been this confused since I watched Magic Mike.
Oh my
The
gosh.
most ridiculous thing about all of this, every single one of these Imperial measurements are legally defined by the metric system. America is already using the metric system, and most of the population is oblivious to it.
Bro, facts. This whole video, bruh, I didn't even have an argument as to why the imperial system was better, besides the fact that I was just more comfortable with it because that's what I grew up being taught. You know, that's what most Americans are probably going to say when they react to this, you know, but everything he's saying makes a lot of sense. I mean, we've seen it in measurements and whatnot. You can honestly look at the weights in the gym. They always have the kilo measurements on the weight plates and whatnot. You can see in measuring units in general. Well, measuring units when it comes to cooking and whatnot, they have both metric and imperial units and whatnot. But oftentimes you'll see more so metric units than imperial
Freedom,
units.
America, guns, pew pew, hoorah! The foot is legally defined as 0.3048 meters. The pound is legally defined by 0.435
That's complicated, bro. That's complicated. I'm not going to remember that.
kilograms. Why? Because the metric system is run by the International Bureau of Weights and Measures, a neutral international organization whose sole mission is to create a global language of science, who America is a member of. And they have succeeded in an awe-inspiring way. In 2019, the final metric base unit, the kilogram, stopped being defined by human artifacts and is now, like all other metric units, defined by the laws of physics. In 2019, it ceased being defined by this hunk of metal and began being defined by Planck's constant. which is defined as 6.626 by 10 to the minus 34 kilogram meter squared per second. Of course, to use this as a definition, we need ways to define the meter and second. The meter is defined as the length of the path travelled by light in a vacuum in 1 divided by 299,792,458 of a second. Okay, so how do we define a second? A second is defined by the hyperfine transition frequency, which is the frequency of radiation which will cause an electron to jump from two closely spaced low energy states in a cesium-133 atom. Each of the base units are defined like this, using the unchanging language of the universe as its yardstick, or should I say, meter stick. It's a beautiful and inspiring language that transcends the realm of humans, and for that reason alone, you should strive to use the metric system. Understanding the language of the universe is a superpower, and there is no better place to become fluent in that language than Brilliant. Did you know that you can measure literally anything? You can even measure what you don't know, which is something I learned through Brilliant's brand new course.
Very, very, very informative video, man. Bruh. The metric system, I mean, it's a very simple system. I feel like the reason why a lot of people, meaning the people who use the Imperial system, think the metric system is so complicated is because, to a degree, it is a very, very different platform. It's easier to understand once you get the hang of it, and it doesn't take very long to get the hang of it. It's simple. However, once you've learned the Imperial system, I don't know, it's like kind of hard to just like switch over unless there's something that you regularly interact with that uses strictly the metric system. And I know, like he brought up, and like I brought up, there are obviously lots of things that you indirectly use and engage with that use the metric system, but I don't know if people will ever change, man. You guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Subscribe, like this video, and most importantly, follow me on twitch.tv/JamesBrayGang, where we stream every day. We stream pretty much every day, minus this week because I'm a little busy, but normally we stream every day, and we specialize in horror games and reactions.